Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I have the opportunity to work on another Eagle Claw reel. I didn't see these for the longest time, and all of a sudden Scott sent a few in, and now this one comes from Doug. This is an Eagle Claw Blue Pacific number 1225. I've never had the opportunity to work on this one. It was made in Japan. It appears to be a 15 or 20 size reel, so we'll call that a light or an ultra light type of a reel. It was made by Eagle Gill, Wright and McGill, which was out in Colorado. They were they do Eagle Claw tackle today, but these were made in Japan for them. And we're going to take this apart. We're going to see how it's made. We'll show you how to service it and how to keep this one fishing. Well, before you do much, you want to test. We're seeing here that we have a bail that's not tripping very well. The rest of it seems to be working okay. And interestingly enough, a lot of the times these bails don't trip well simply because they've dried out from lubrication. So before I do anything dramatic, I just want to take some penetrating oil and work that into the bail, and look at that. Just one click, and well, it's dancing again. So quick tip there. Well, if you like the art of fishing reel service and repair, if you like to see how reels are made, if you like to understand a little bit about fishing reel history and all of the above, I would ask you to subscribe to my channel. And if you do subscribe to my channel, please use the notification button. That'll let you know when I'm posting on certain videos of fishing reels, and you'll be able to see whether that's one that you think you would enjoy and would like to watch. I work on all kinds of reels. Today we're working on a 1970-ish Japanese-made reel for Eagle Claw. Tomorrow it might be the latest from Shimano or Daiwa or any of the manufacturers, and you can choose and pick between them as to which ones you like. Well, we removed the spool by taking off the adjuster nut. We'll come back and look at those drag washers at the end of the video, but for now we want to get into the case. This is a good time to tell you to take a look at the reel, see what you don't know, and take pictures as you're disassembling the reel so that you can be comfortable when it comes time to reinstall. Well, there's a couple of things I like to do. I'd like to check to see if the handle is a through handle, which in this case it is. If you tried to twist this handle off, you would break it. And the other thing I like to do is to take the anti-reverse and move it to the off position before I go much further. While the screw is out, we can pull out the handle, and a good way to save that screw so that you don't lose it is just put it right back into the handle. When I take the pieces and parts off, I put them into a parts tray. I use the bottom of a fast food container, but it helps me keep organized, and I would say it's a good practice. And if you're working on fishing reels and you have a tendency to lay the parts out on your desk, well, sometimes you can get in trouble, and this helps to avoid some of that. We're going to remove the 3 screws that are holding the side case in. They're Phillips head screws. And once we do that, we'll get a look on the inside of the reel. Now, somebody mentioned to me the other day in one of the comments, it looks like all of these reels are the same. Well, they are and they aren't. On the R side, it's always a big gear drives a little gear, turns a rotor or a spool to gather the line. But inside we have all different kinds of configurations, and this one's yet another one of those. This is not a ball bearing reel. This is a light duty reel. Probably don't need the ball bearing. Sometimes you can remove the main gear simply by pulling out. In this case we can. Sometimes you can't. Here's why you take those pictures. Look at how that anti-reverse spring is set on top of that anti-reverse dog. And well, if you wanted to take that off for cleaning or something, you need to know how it gets repositioned. So take a picture right there. It's a critical juncture in the service, and it's something that you won't regret someday when you get stuck. I, of course, take pictures all the time. I'm taking them on video cameras. You can use standard digital cameras. You can use your cell phone. Use anything you can that takes a picture, and that you won't regret it. Alright, I'm removing the screw from that cross wind block on the bottom here. That's going to allow me to remove the axle like that, simply by pulling up. And most of what you want to do in a reel repair is to disassemble the reel to check all the pieces and parts, to make sure that they're not broken. If they're broken, you're going to need to replace them. Sometimes with a reel like this, that's not going to be easy. I think this is the first one of these I've ever worked on, so I may as well trying to go out and find parts for it. You also want to check the orientation, make sure that you know which side goes where. We've had the crosswind block fall off its channel, but this crosswind gear, but there it is. Do the same thing, clean it all off and inspect it, make sure that all of the teeth are okay. I've still got a puddle of that penetrating oil in there, and that's helping me to remove the old greases. This is a non-ball bearing reel, as we mentioned. We already saw that it was a sticky bail. Well, we already saw how to solve that bail. If you needed to, you could take it off and do a cleaning around the spring in that. That's another level of interest, if you will. But in this case, that's not needed. And you really don't need to remove the rotor because, well, there's nothing underneath the rotor. There's simply the gear. So check the teeth on the gear. There's a little bit of grease hanging on the side here. We'll get that out of the way. And as long as your teeth in the gear are clean, you can just work on it this way. Now, if you had dirt in that gear, simply do what I'm doing here. Just take a little pick, run it through that slot of the teeth of the gear, turning the rotor, and you can get the old dirt out that way. If you wanted to, you could remove the rotor and then pull up and out on that pinion gear, but again, it's not necessary on this reel. Alright, we're just going to put a good amount of grease onto that pinion gear then. So, cleaning, inspecting, re-oil, re-grease, reassemble. That's what it takes. On some reels that takes a long time, on some reels a little bit less. But this isn't a race. Don't go trying to get it done quickly, get it done right. Alright, that's a nice clean case now. Let's go take our attention to that main gear. That's got some old greases on there, so we'll do the same thing here. We're going to put a little bit of penetrating oil on there. And I don't have a preference for penetrating oil. You can use whatever you want. Today I'm using a store brand. I think it's an Ace Hardware can of penetrating oil. Tomorrow it might be Liquid Wrench or WD-40 or who knows. Seems like when I run low, wherever I am and it's selling penetrating oil gets my business, and whatever they have on the shelf is what I buy. Alright, we've cleaned up the main gear. Inspect all the teeth, make sure they're uniform. Look at it from both sides. Look for the peaks and look for the slots. Again, if you had anything stuck in there, go ahead and run a little pin or a nail or something in there to clear that out. Also check the back drive. That's the one that's going to drive that oscillation gear that we took out earlier. Okay, just a little bit of cleanup here. Start the reassembly then. Let's take that oscillation gear. It's been cleaned. The oscillation gear is touched by everything, so get grease onto the back of that. Please use fishing reel grease. It's not that expensive. You can buy it in 1 or 2 ounce containers. I buy it in a pound container, but then again, I'm working on a lot of fishing reels. Get it in the teeth, get it on the front, get it on the back, and then assemble it over the stud in the case. When you seat it low so that when you put that oscillation block on, you have the stud on the downside and you're able to connect it with that screw. Load your oscillation gear. Come back now and grease the main gear. And you don't have to get in every tooth, but get enough on there that it's going to make a difference. If you put too much on, what's going to happen is what we saw when we removed the main gear. It's just going to puddle in here from centrifugal force. You can take the main gear now, put that in. Well, I think what we want to do now is we want to put that shaft in. We saw that the axle shaft can go in with the without removing the main gear, so let's put that in next because it'll be easier to put that screw in. Make sure that it's nice and clean. Just a light coating of oil, or grease rather, on this. Slide it through. And with the cross-line block properly seated, push the axle shaft in, and then find that little screw, the flathead screw, to attach the two pieces together. No ball bearings. The bushing, the case acts as a bushing, all three sides, the rotor and the two gear sides. You don't need a lot. Again, this is a what I'll call a 15 size reel. It's almost bordering on ultra light, and you're not going to get a lot of torsion or need a lot of effort to use these reels. So don't spend a lot of time worrying that you don't have ball bearings in there. Of course, today's thing seems to be everybody wants to put 8 or 10 or 12 or 15 ball bearings and things. They're not needed. Yeah, they're convenience, but they're not necessary. All right, we've put grease on both posts of the main gear. We'll bring the main gear in now. Find the hole in the case where it seats. And just get that seated, and then turn your rotor, make sure that it's seating properly and spinning nicely, which it is. And then we can close this up by putting the case back on. So Eagle Claw contracted with companies in Japan. These are what's called trade reels. So there are contract manufacturers across the globe, most of them now seem to be in China, that well, they do design and manufacture fishing reels. And what they'll do is they'll do that for other companies. So you get to put your brand on their reel. And a lot of the ones in the 1970s in Japan, gee, they looked identical to everybody else's reels. They just had a different name on them, depending on who was putting the order in. And that's what this one would be. It would be a Japanese-made reel, high quality, and worthy of the name Eagle Claw. Okay, there's a 5-sided clip holding the drag washers in, so we want to remove that. Don't let it go too far. It is a spring clip, so be careful as you do that. And this is kind of an interesting setup here. Looks like we have one washer in here, one stuck washer in here. Never good. See if we can remove that without breaking it. So right now you really don't have much of a drag in this reel because when it's stuck to the metal washer, it can't spin. Alright, this came out with a spring underneath. That'll be your tension. Then it has an eared washer. Check both sides, make sure that's clean. Now this washer was stuck, and this appears to be a fabric washer. I'm going to put a little bit of grease on there. I'm going to use my gloved hand to rub that grease in. That'll prevent it from sticking, and it'll also keep it flexible so that it doesn't dry rot on the washers like we just saw there. When that's done, put your top washer in. Come on back and grab your little spring. And let's just kind of bring that in. So I keep all kinds of tools on my bench. That utility knife gets used a lot. I have micro screwdrivers and micro pliers that also get used a lot. And I try to keep everything close at hand so that as I'm working on something, if I find the need for it, another piece, then it's close by and I don't have to put the project down and go far to find it. But how you organize your tools and your bench is obviously completely up to you. We'll tighten it down. We'll make sure it's holding, back it off, make sure we got some play. We do. We'll come over to our handle then. The handle has a little stud. It's a screw stud, I believe. I'm going to put a little oil in there so that it works its way down on the stud and works freely. Take our handle and put that back through the main gear. Go ahead and take that screw, tie the handle in, and then we're very close to giving it a final test, just to make sure that it's working well. Well, again, if you have any questions on this reel or any reel in particular, if you leave them in the comment section, I will try to answer them for you. Try to get you going again on a stuck project maybe, or just give you more information about the reels or the history of a reel or so on. All right, let's give it a test first. So there's a little click going on in that spool. Let's tighten that down. Now we got a little chirp in there. That's probably something that may have gotten bent over time. That seems okay. All right, now let's put our anti-reverse back on. We've got our anti-reverse working fine. And back to that bail that didn't flip before. Look at that, just a little bit of penetrating oil to knock out the dried grease or whatever, and you're happy all the time with the turn. Well, that's it. That's your Eagle Claw. It's the Blue Pacific. It's model number 1225 for those of you keeping score. And if you have one of those, you now know how to take apart and service this reel. To our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for everything it is that you do to keep us safe. I really do appreciate everything that you do. And to everybody, keep your tackle serviced. Get ready for the fish when they're running. Don't leave it to chance that the reel will work, but rather leave it to your skill and talents to make it work all the time. Have fun fishing. Take a friend. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.